Everyone, and welcome back to my stream. I am pre-debut VTuber Kriss with a K and three S's. And I, just today, scheduled my debut date, which I will be announcing later this month. But for today, we are reading Reddit stories, and I just found out that there is apparently an Am I the Asshole Unfiltered. So we're going to look at that today. For today, though, for my drink, I have Snapple sugar-free peach tea. So grab your drinks, your snacks, and get comfy, and we will start in just a moment. Okie dokie. And let me move myself there. Okay, I haven't pulled up any stories yet because I'm running a bit late because I was looking at shit for getting things scheduled for my debut and lost track of time. So this is what I just found. Am I the Asshole Unfiltered? Let's see, do I want to change my view? Oh, that looks a lot better. I don't know if that changes what you guys see, but for me, it looks like everything is a lot closer and a lot bigger. So that looks nicer. Hopefully that shows for you guys and looks better. But let's see. I'm hoping that there's a lot of nice juicy stories on here. There's one from a day ago. Let's just pull up a couple of these stories and see what we got. Ah, I don't want to do that one. Oh God, what am I doing? Holy shit. Firefox, what are you doing to me? I don't want to do a side by side. Yikes. I'm really killing myself here. Okay. No. Split view is not anything I have pretty much ever asked for. No, thank you. Oh, that one looks messed up. Okay. Oh, that's the same story. Okay. First one that we have here is, am I the asshole for expecting parents to actually parent on a family vacation? Uh, First, like, gut response is no. Even if you're on vacation, you're still a fucking parent, so do that. Okay. I, 29 female, recently went on a beach trip with my husband, our 4 kids, my older male cousin, 42 male, his wife, and their 4 kids, plus my other cousin, 36 female, her boyfriend, and her 2 sons. I love planning trips, so before we left, I even made an itinerary and meal ideas. Everyone wanted to do their own thing, which was totally fine. What wasn't fine was that we barely saw my cousin all week. The first beach day, they said they'd come with us, but never did. Instead, they stayed in their room while her boyfriend told the boys they weren't allowed to come with us. The next day, they were suddenly allowed to go. That pretty much set the tone for the trip. While everyone else was cooking, cleaning, taking kids to the beach, fishing, and hanging out together, my cousin and her boyfriend were usually in their room or off by themselves. Her boys, however, were almost always with us. We took them to the beach, made sure they ate, included them in everything, and kept an eye on them. I don't mind helping family, but after a few days, it felt less like helping and more like everyone else had quietly become responsible for their kids while they enjoyed a couple's vacation. The moment that really got me was when she casually asked if I'd taken a nap. I laughed. I have 4 kids. Not only was I taking care of mine, but I constantly felt like I was helping with everyone else's too. At one point, her older son repeatedly picked on my son in the pool. After correcting him several times, I finally stepped in and told him he'd be getting out of if it continued because neither of his parents were around. She also slept through one evening while everyone else was together, and another night she and her boyfriend left around midnight to go to the beach while their boys stayed behind with the family. Checkout morning pushed me over the edge. The rest of us spent hours cleaning the Airbnb, doing laundry, packing shared items, taking out trash, and loading vehicles. My cousin came downstairs around 8:30, packed only her own things, and never offered to help with the shared cleanup. Her boyfriend sat outside in the sun until I finally asked if he planned on helping. Then I noticed their SUV was spotless. Mine was full of sand because we'd actually been hauling kids back and forth to the beach all week. I sarcastically said it made sense they didn't have sand in their car since they never really took the boys. After we got home, she texted saying she had an amazing time and thanked us for spending so much time with her boys because they looked so happy in the pictures. Honestly, that bothered me. Of course, they had a great time. The rest of us made sure they did. Even my older cousin later said it felt like everyone else was on a family vacation while they were on a separate couple's getaway. Now we're talking about another family trip, but I've already decided every family will be responsible for their own kids. I'm also hesitant to invite her over because I don't want to end up supervising her boys again, especially when one repeatedly ignores adults. I don't necessarily think she's a bad person, but I definitely left questioning her parenting after watching this for an entire week. Am I the asshole for judging her as a mom, not wanting to vacation with her again, and not wanting to invite her over because I don't want to end up responsible for her kids? Okay. Like, I already said this as like my first response when just reading the title, but no, you're a parent. Just because you're on vacation doesn't mean your responsibilities as a parent end. Okay, I'm going to take a little bio break to grab a drink. Feel free to do so yourselves. Mm, yeah, regardless of what else is going on, you still have kids. OP is a parent and she took care of her kids as well as her cousin's kids. Like, that's not okay. And totally in the right to say, hey, I never want to go on another trip with you again, or we need to set some firm ground rules if we're going to do this. Okay, first commenter says, um, named Purple Impression 23, not the asshole. Are you guys close? If so, talk to her one on one. Actually says 111, but one on one about what you observed and how it made you feel. Then give her space to explain. I don't blame you at all for not wanting to or being hesitant to invite her on the next trip. I wouldn't make a decision on that until you talk to her, though. OP says, we recently got close, but I had known she would leave her kids. But had I known, she would leave her kids on her own. A lot. Always late to pick them up from family. But when we recommended, she seemed like she changed, and I was dead ass wrong. Looks like mom of 1984, says, you were wrong. You now know. Don't make that mistake again. Her kid doesn't listen, and she's being purposely dense. Nope. And if she asks why, say that you need a vacation from the vacation you had to provide for her. But honestly, why didn't you speak up sooner? Why didn't you send the kids back? I mean, I get it, they are kids, but you are an adult and you didn't use your words or set boundaries. But that only makes my don't do it again stronger. You are obviously a reasonable and kind person. She took advantage. I wouldn't straight up say that I don't want to spend time with adults that I have to manage like children. I would straight up say that I don't want to spend up time with adults that I have to manage like children. Agreed. Uh, yeah, lots of people saying the same. Um, Mother of Locks has other people responding about their posts saying, yeah, say it louder. I had a neighbor who sent her young children out to play a lot. They also sent the kids over unsupervised to use our pool. I had to send them home multiple times because I couldn't supervise. Her youngest would follow the older kids out and even just wander off. We live in a thoroughfare street, and so I tried to keep an eye out, but it got exhausting real quick. Okay. Or maybe that doesn't seem like something that people were talking about. Maybe it was for beep beep boop 74656. Not the asshole. Day 2, I would have told the kids they need to find a parent to take them to the beach. Not my kids, not my problem. I would have called her out on her selfishness loudly and in front of everyone. I am proudly and loudly child-free, so that definitely would have been my take. I am on vacation. I don't have kids. These are definitely not mine, so not my jam. Hell no. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Boner Jams 1880 says, "You're the asshole for not immediately addressing the situation," which I think is not a good take. Like, maybe they were an asshole to themselves, but yeah. OP does say, "I did think this and told my husband because both my older cousin and I said the same thing. Was it our fault because we never knocked on the door and said, 'Hey, your kids are hungry?' But my husband said, 'No, that's not my job. She's a mom and she knows her responsibilities.'" Yeah, agreed. Okay, let's go to the next one. Am I the asshole for thinking my mother-in-law put my daughter at risk by meeting a TikTok stranger? Right off the bat, like, this seems unhinged because first of all, like, we have a mother-in-law doing something weird. And what do you mean a TikTok stranger? Why are they just like meeting some rando? My 31 female mother-in-law, 53 female, looks after my daughter, 1 female, on Mondays and Fridays whilst I work. Backstory: my father-in-law got diagnosed with cancer 8 months ago, and since then, my mother-in-law has been making TikTok videos to spread awareness and document her and her family's journey through the diagnoses. She has gained approximately 12,000 followers from this. 2 weeks ago, when father-in-law was having chemo treatment, mother-in-law took my daughter to meet up with someone from TikTok who happened to be having treatment in the same hospital. Note: before this meeting, they had never met and had no mutuals. They only knew each other through TikTok. My husband and I found out about this meeting after it happened. I raised my concern with my husband that this meeting was with a stranger she met on the internet, and I was not comfortable with her taking my daughter along like this again. My husband then spoke to mother-in-law about the situation the next week she was round, and it seemed to be fine. Fast forward 2 weeks, and I was at mother-in-law's, and she said, "Husband said you have some concerns with me meeting someone from TikTok." I reiterated how I felt uncomfortable with her meeting with a stranger whilst looking after daughter. Mother-in-law stated, "Daughter was in her pram and the lady was in a wheelchair, and we were just at the hospital coffee shop." I explained that although that was the case, before they actually met, mother-in-law couldn't have been sure the lady was who she said she was, and people should always be aware of stranger danger. It's one thing meeting someone off the internet, it's another thing taking someone else's baby daughter with you. Mother-in-law was defensive, stating daughter was never in danger and that she never took her eyes off daughter. I said it only takes one split-second distraction for something to happen. She disagreed again, saying she wasn't in danger, smirking, and walked away from the conversation. I left after this, as I was angry and did not want to say something in the heat of the moment. I let my husband know I was leaving, we drove separate, and after I'd left, he went to talk to her, defend my honor, as he put it, and she would not listen to what he had to say. I believe this had the potential to put my daughter in danger, and I do not feel comfortable bringing her over anymore if this is a risk. If my daughter was at home on Monday and Fridays, I could work with her. The reason it is nice for her to go to mother-in-law's is for bonding time. We have said if she wishes to meet with someone she doesn't know, then we will keep daughter at home those days. She agreed that's fine. My concern is not that she will necessarily do it again. It is that she doesn't understand what she has done wrong and won't see my point of view, therefore potentially putting my daughter at risk in the future. Am I the asshole here, or am I within my right to be angry at this situation? It looks like for some reason this got posted twice. Yeah, weird. No, I completely agree with OP. Like, that is a dangerous situation for your daughter to be in. Um, she has no autonomy in this, and mother-in-law definitely didn't consult you or your husband and didn't know this person or pretty much anything about them. That is definitely a dangerous situation. Oh, but there's no comments. It's 2 hours ago. So you'd think there would be a little bit of something. Nope. Oh well. I guess we got to that one too soon. This one, however, is from 12 days ago, so there's something here. Let's see. Am I the asshole for not wanting my niece's daughter and dogs to move in with me? A few weeks ago, my niece, 40 female, asked if she could move in with me. I said yes because I wanted to help her out. A few days later, she told me she had a dog that would need to come too. I asked if the dog got along with other dogs and cats because I already have a dog and a cat. She said no, but suggested she could keep her dog in a cage. I wasn't thrilled about that, but I didn't argue. Then she told me about her 22-year-old daughter. I don't know her or even her name, would also be coming, and that her daughter had two dogs of her own. At this point, I was pretty shocked because what started as one person moving in had suddenly become two people and three additional dogs. Then my niece called and said she wasn't coming after all, but her daughter and the two dogs would be. It wasn't really presented as a question. It felt more like I was being informed of the plan. I told her I didn't even know her daughter's name and wasn't comfortable having someone I barely know move into my home. My sister, my niece's mother, later called me because she'd heard about the situation. I told her I didn't think it was a good idea. After that conversation, my niece called and said they weren't coming, but seemed annoyed and accused me of involving her mother. I explained that I hadn't called anyone. She must have talked about it to someone who then called me. For context, my niece recently moved to a town about an hour away from me. I later found out the move wasn't to be closer to family, but to be closer to her boyfriend. That's her choice and doesn't bother me. Now, 2 days ago, she called again and said her daughter wants to come stay with me tonight. I said she could, but I made it clear there would be no drugs, no smoking on my property, and no asking neighbors for any. Since then, I haven't heard back. Am I the asshole for being uncomfortable with how this whole situation was handled and for not wanting people and multiple dogs moved into my house without a real discussion? This one is a lot more unhinged than I expected from the title. Just, yeah, wow. How do you go from one person asking to live with you to it being two people and three dogs with literally no discussion? That's pretty insane. But yeah, absolutely not. OP is not the asshole. That is pretty crazy. And what the fuck is up with the niece? Like, I want my daughter to move in with you, even though you don't know her name, you've never met her, you don't know anything about her, and also, like, let my dog move in, even though it's just supposed to be me. What the fuck? Green Dragon 14. No is a complete sentence. Stop saying you will when you really don't want to. Interesting novel 997. This, I hate when folks put themselves in terrible situations just because they don't want to be mean. Half the posts on Reddit would disappear if folks simply said no. American 3141592 and do it soon. Do not let them earn squatters' rights. No, not the asshole, not the asshole. Absolutely not. Yeah. And if niece just moved, like, why is she trying to come stay with you? What is going on? Everything about this just seems shady as fuck. Yeah. And it seems really weird that, like, hey, I've put these very simple rules in place, like no drugs, don't ask anyone for drugs, don't bother the neighbors, and then you don't hear anything from them. Like, that also feels super shady. Okay, let's grab another few and see if they're also really weird. This one has no comments or anything, so I'm just gonna leave that one. This one has this one's 5 days old, so it looks like there's something here. I'm gonna take a bio break for a drink. Feel free to do so yourselves. And feel free to type in the comments or chat if there's been any, really weird or messed up shit that's happened in your life. There was a time in high school that I refer to as like a Jerry Springer episode in my life. Um, but that is for another time, dear listeners. Okay. Am I the asshole for leaving my husband's mess for him? Let me get this out here. I, 41 female, am married to a 41 male, and I'm lucky to be a stay at home mom at the moment, and my husband works in construction. I am also endeavoring in my own little side hustle for extra income and homeschooling my kids. This is a lot to do. The daily routines of taking care of a 15 and 10-year-old. Mind you, they are hella smart and can do most things themselves and help when I ask. But here lately, everything except making the renovations to the house has been all on me. Every stick of it. Cleaning, cooking, side hustle, school. Not a lot of time for mom here already. He used to be amazing at picking up after himself, always trash into the trash, and he even had putting clothes in the hamper down pat before we were even together. Now he's leaving it, and leaving it sit there for me to pick up. Now I thought this was getting ridiculous. We talked about it. He said he'd be more mindful of it. All things I expected him to say and to come to fruition as it usually does. He's usually pretty good at keeping his words. But not this time. Once I left his laundry literally 2 feet from the hamper for a couple of days, where he left it, and he asks, "Why is this on the floor here?" I gave him a look and looked to the pile, and then to the hamper, then back to him. They're your clothes that you get to put in the hamper like you're supposed to. He didn't holler or scream, just flatly says, "Well, if I don't, it's your responsibility." What was my thought? However, what came out was, "Oh, no, no, no. We are in this together, and if you want me to pick up after you, you pick up after you too." I will agree we both have a substantial load. His is work and monetary stability, and mine is all I mentioned above, both stressful and both rewarding at the same time. But what I really But was I really wrong after talking about it and discussing it, getting a word he'd try to come back to his former standard and not have this problem anymore, to begin to show how fed up I am picking up his things by leaving it there? Uh, no. You're just keeping to the standards that you guys have been living by all along. What the fuck? Unless there's like something that's been like super stressful or keeping him from being able to do these things the way that he has been doing them, like shouldn't be a change. He shouldn't expect you to be doing more, or that he should be kept to a lesser standard, especially if you two are talking about it. Let's see. First comment by Jules K. Not the asshole. Being a stay-at-home mom doesn't mean your husband can throw stuff on the floor. I tell him the kids are watching and ask him if he wants to teach the kids to throw their clothes, food wrappers, etc. on the floor, because it's a homemaker's job to follow them around picking up after them. I'd add that you are housekeeper, teacher, chauffeur, and cook, plus you're doing a side hustle, so he needs to put his clothes in the hamper like he used to. Or if the standard is working outside the home creates a free pass to skip all housework, maybe you can return to work and you both for childcare and put the kids in school, then share all domestic work. Your kids are getting old enough that you might want to seriously consider this. OP says, kids help when they want to. I don't typically make them unless I have too many things to cover at once. They usually help when asked, but sometimes I get a no thanks if I'm not too busy. That's okay. I homeschool the kids because our schools are crap. I could part-time somewhere at night maybe though, but then he and I are passing ships in the night. We tried this. No one was happy about it, and he talked me into quitting to help de-stress me a bit. But leaving his crap around like this isn't helping. An upvoted comment from OKPoint4302 says, the kids need set chores and consequences for not doing them, unless you want them to grow up like your husband. Teaching them they only have to do what they feel like doing is not a great lesson for them. I feel like that's pretty accurate, especially since one of them is, 15, and the other is 10. If they don't have set chores, then yeah, they need to be getting used to doing things, because otherwise, how are they going to learn to do things for themselves when they leave home? College or, having a job of their own, living on their own is going to be coming around sooner than you might think. And how are they going to be self-sufficient? A lot of kids don't know how to do a lot of things that we kind of take for granted. It might not be like super relevant to what hubby's doing in this instant, but it is also important. Let's see. A comment that got a laugh crying emoji from OP came from Senator Bink. Time for a doctor visit if he's too weak to walk the 2 more feet to the hamper, not the asshole. And OP also responded, I would like to make it perfectly clear the kids help most of the time. There are moments they don't want to help, and that's okay. There are times we have to, even if we don't want to, they do learn this. I came here for a husband, not parenting advice. Okay. So kids do help out most of the time. Things are okay on that front. Okay. Oh, yeah. Looks like pretty much everyone's saying not the asshole. Okay. This next story also is only a few hours old. It doesn't have any comments, so let's find another one that might be good. Here's one that's a few days old. See, another one that's about a week old. There are quite a few on here that are only a few hours old. This one's just a few hours old, but it does have a bunch of comments. So let's see. Let's start with that one. My biggest problem might be stemming from my favorite hobby. Your thoughts? There is a specific dopamine rush that comes from realizing someone is trying to scam you and deciding to completely ruin their productivity for the day. I didn't start out targeting online scammers. Back in the day, if a telemarketer or an automated phishing operation got me on the line, I'd turn it into a game. Literally take the time out to genuinely sound interested in the opportunities they were offering and see how long I could keep them talking before they realized I was completely full of it. It got to the point where most times I talked to a telemarketer, I would end up at the point where it's time to break out my credit card number, only to tell them I didn't have any money or I wasn't going to pay. But lately, the game has evolved. Reddit has become an absolute goldmine for predatory bottom feeders sliding into DMs. Whether it's a sketchy crypto opportunity, a fake job offer, an advance fee sob story, or someone pretending to sell something they don't have, the platform is crawling with them. Instead of blocking them immediately, I've adopted a new philosophy: take them all the way to the finish line. When they hit me with their hustle, I bite hard. I act incredibly enthusiastic, deeply gullible, and slightly technologically illiterate to lower their guard. I let them explain their complex setups. I ask innocent questions, and I drag the conversation out over hours, sometimes days. The goal is to get them to the absolute precipice of receiving money. Once we reach the actual payment phase, whether they want crypto, Venmo, Cash App, or gift cards, that's when the real fun begins. I start throwing up highly specific, incredibly frustrating roadblocks. It says the transfer went through. Did you check it? Wait, let me retry. Sending cropped, blurry, or subtly edited screenshots of error messages. Pretending my internet cut out right as I hit confirm. Acting like a confused boomer who accidentally sent the payment to the wrong username. The tension on their side becomes palpable. You can practically feel it. I'll literally keep them on the hook, hovering over their keyboards for an hour, entirely focused on a payout that does not exist. Is it a massive waste of time? Technically, yes, but I just get this joy from it. Anyone else find this deeply therapeutic, or am I just running a one-man vigilante circus here? First comment from Expiring God Factory. These days, a lot of telemarketers and scammers aren't even the people doing the scamming. They're exploited labor, predominantly from Kenya or India, forced or they themselves scammed into the work. They are not paid the dividends from the scams and subject to extremely harsh conditions. They're often not dunking You're often not dunking on the people you think you are, but rather vulnerable folks who've already been put in a terrible position who get to be the recipient of your response. The best approach is to ignore, deny, etc. as soon as possible. There's no, aha, we got him. That's a coping fantasy. Yeah, a lot of people are like, that, what's the problem here? Yeah, they're not real people anymore. You must have a lot of time in your hands. Meh. Okay. Here's one from about a week ago. I'm going to take another bio break real quick. My throat's getting kind of scratchy. Okay. Am I the asshole for not inviting my friend camping when she doesn't even like camping? Well, right off the bat, I would probably say no. If I don't like camping, I don't want to be invited to go camping. I'm gonna say no anyway. Unless you have a glamping setup, yeah, maybe. I, 24 female, am having a massive fallout with a long-term friend, Maggie. We've been friends for about 4 years. She is married to my boyfriend's friend. We have had a hometown friend group since high school, about 7 to 8 years. Last year, Maggie had a major falling out with another girl in our group, Emma, over a cleaning business Maggie owns. She used to work for her. Because of their drama, I initially didn't put much effort into hanging out with Emma out of loyalty to Maggie. Recently, however, Emma, Jerry, my boyfriend, partner, and I all reconnected. We started hanging out more, and Emma suggested the four of us plan a camping trip. There were three main reasons we planned it as just the four of us. One, to rebuild our core group, our core bond. Camping is a shared hobby the four of us used to do together all the time before the group fractured. We specifically wanted this trip to be tight knit, quality one on one time, so we could go back to the way things once were. Two, Emma and I had a pre existing timeline. The original distance between Emma and me happened naturally before she ever worked for Maggie, but the primary reason we didn't rekindle sooner was entirely because of the massive blowout Maggie had with her. Out of loyalty, I kept my distance. The reality is that my lack of closeness with Emma last year was completely for Maggie's sake, and the second those two patched things up, Emma naturally came around me again. 3. We genuinely thought Maggie hated camping. Over the years, Maggie has stated multiple times that she does not like camping. Years ago, she came on a trip with my partner and me, complained the entire time, and made the experience completely miserable. We logically assumed she wouldn't even want to go. A few days ago, I nonchalantly mentioned the upcoming trip to Maggie when talking about how busy I was all of July. She flipped out later over text, sending me walls of text saying she was deeply hurt that she and her husband weren't considered or included. The text literally opened with, "I'm a little hurt. I guess you didn't include me in the camping plans because last year you and Emma wouldn't even hang out without it being weird." My immediate reaction was obviously defensive and, what the fuck? Who says something like that? When I explained, "Hey, we just thought you didn't like camping," she completely shifted the goalposts. She brought up 5 different contradictory reasons as to why she was upset, at one point claiming she does like camping now and blaming her past behavior on undiagnosed ADHD. I tried to fix the miscommunication right away. I told her I hadn't even booked it yet and explicitly asked, "Do you want to go or no? I will ask Emma if we can get another lot to make room." Even though I provided an immediate solution, she snapped back with, "No, we are good," completely failing to keep her story straight. Rejecting a direct, instant solution made it obvious that she didn't actually care about the trip or want to go. It seemed like she just wanted to make me the bad guy. Because the texts were getting out of hand, I told her I wasn't going to do this over iMessage. I had just worked a 10-hour day, on 1 hour sleep, and was completely exhausted. I asked if I could come over after work so we could talk like adults, and she originally agreed and said, of course. But then, she randomly canceled on me at the last minute. When trying to replan, she tried to force the entire situation to accommodate strictly to her own schedule. She constantly blames things on being overstimulated, and that's exactly what she did here. She told me she was too overstimulated to talk, needed days to process, and was setting a boundary. She actually tried to make me wait a full 7 days after the initial argument to have the conversation, completely ignoring that my peace, my sleep, and my schedule matter too, and that the world doesn't just stop and revolve around her terms. She actually threatened me that if I wasn't okay with this boundary, that we were not friends, laughed my ass off. This may be a personal thing for me, but I'm literally a nurse. So to say I'm unempathetic when I literally try to be so empathetic to patients in a hospital is just such an insult. Here's the real kicker. While telling me she didn't have the energy or capacity to talk to me, she was messaging Emma to try and twist the narrative. She completely validated what I had thought was a savior complex based on a text she sent. She texted Emma claiming, "I dropped literally everything for her, and then to not get invited just hurt when I was the one holding you guys together as friends last year." This is a complete rewrite of history and an insult to my capability as an adult. She does not own or control my relationships. Mind you, Emma and I actually have a much longer history than Maggie's even been around. She also texted Emma claiming that I have no empathy and am too stubborn to show it, while calling me rude for taking time to cool off over the weekend after she was the one who had flaked on our plans earlier that Friday. She expects immediate grace when she cancels on me, but completely penalizes me when I take a weekend to process my own responses maturely. This may be a personal thing for me, but I'm literally a nurse, so to say I'm unempathetic when I bust my ass to try to be empathetic, treating patients in a hospital for 12 hours a day is just such an insult. Uh, OP's being pretty repetitive. Thankfully, Emma didn't buy her manipulation and defended me. But the truth is, nobody is going to listen to your hurt feelings or show you empathy if you're just going to aggressively insult and attack their character throughout the entire conversation. She completely buried her own valid feelings under a mountain of insults and gossip. Furthermore, she fails to realize that this exact type of toxic overreaction, creating an exhausting, week long emotional hostage situation over a simple miscommunication, is exactly what ensures people won't want to invite her to things in the future. She is actively creating the very exclusion she is crying about. As much as I hate to say this, Maggie seems to have a history with conflict. She has had fallouts with multiple people in our circle and has constant problems with her mother in law and somehow is always the victim while everyone else is heartless. She doesn't realize she is the common denominator. I'm not saying her feelings in certain situations aren't valid, but the way you come across does. I absolutely despise the fact that when people weaponize therapy language and act like they're very emotionally intelligent and into their healing journey when they're the most toxic communicators. I refuse to respect her overstimulation boundary because it was clearly a manipulative tactic to buy time while, yeah, and OP didn't finish. First comment is from Medical Gate 5721. I'm not going to entertain this. I like you and value our friendship. This is too much drama. Call me when you want to hang out or chat about something else. OP says, the best statement I've heard all day. Garden Safe 8519 says, sounds like you backed away from the wrong friend during the Maggie Emma drama. Just because your partner is best friends with her husband doesn't automatically mean you have to even like her. Um, OP says that they mixed up names because they made up too many code names for the story. No Weakness 5495 says, not the asshole, perfectly reasonable to do some things with friends without inviting other friends. Yeah, it sounds like Maggie's not a good friend. And yeah, I wouldn't want to invite her with our previous camping experience either. But I'm also kind of suspecting that maybe this isn't a real story because it just kind of ends in the middle of a sentence and there's a lot of repetition. Um, so this might be an AI story. I don't know. Just doesn't seem very good. Let's see. Next story here is from 8 days ago. Am I the asshole for ignoring my friends and enjoying myself on a girls' trip? Um, well, when you're on a girls' trip, it's typically so you're spending time with your friends who are the girls that you're with. Am I getting that wrong? I I don't know. I don't think I've been on a girls' trip. But then again, I'm not a girl, so let's see. Just a warning, this is a long one, but I never thought I would be in this situation. So I planned an international birthday trip. It was originally supposed to be a solo trip. In hindsight, I should have went with my first mind, but I thought, hey, let me make this a girls' trip. Due to it being last minute and how long the trip was going to be, 2 weeks, only 2 people could go. So I immediately go into planning and finalizing the itinerary. Through this whole process, I spoke to friend A every other day, just bouncing ideas off her. Throughout this time, no one offered help in planning, even after I said, if there is something that they want to do, let me know. They both said nothing. This is not my first international trip, but this was my first trip to an Asian country, China. We had a group chat where I had dates of when payment was due, hotels, etc. I'm very much a type A person when it comes to international travel. Throughout this process, friend B was not responding to messages, having trouble meeting the payment deadlines, and even went as far as to ask to pay me towards the end of the trip. I wanted to disinvite her because I felt like I was going to be financially responsible for her, but my mom persuaded me to give her time because this was a once in a lifetime trip. I unfortunately listened, and she did eventually pay her part of the hotels before the trip. Although instead of paying me and I booked the activities, she did not have money in her checking account, so she paid using a credit card, and I sent her the links to pay. The links have the activity details, and I also shared the links in the group chat so they can read the description. I'm only bringing this up because it's relevant to the story. After a long journey, we made it to China late at night. The first full day was amazing but tiring. We did the typically tourist attractions in Beijing. I like to be put together and look good. I had on a cute two-piece set and I did a light makeup routine. I knock on their door and I got met with an "oh." It wasn't important to me in the moment, but it was one of those things that stood out to me as odd. We did the Great Wall, Summer Palace, and the dress up dinner. One of those things, let's see, I think I might be, yeah. Oh, these paragraphs are chunky and don't have good